most of our mistakes come out of attempts to be comfortable. You know, it comes out of attempts to avoid pain, you know. And once I started to welcome the discomfort, you know, being transparent puts you in a very uncomfortable position.
Especially in position like you're in your career, right? Your reputation, like what are people going to think? It's going to impact me negatively.
I mean, well, you know, it's wild because that started family-wise, you know, because there was a lot of adjustments I had to make once you become popular or famous, even within family, you know, where people have this expectation that, oh, now you know, you're going to pay everybody's bills, or you're going to, and you have to say, you know, and the problem I found is that the inability to say no comes from being comfortable. Right. You want everyone to feel good about you. You want everybody to like you. You want all this stuff. And I was that guy. Yeah. And I slowly realized I was going to go broke. You know, you realize this is not good. And what was really wild is once I realized I needed to start saying no, and then and people got angry. That was the thing. The moment I decided to kind of flex my own power, there was a lot of people that were really pissed off about that. And I had to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. You know what I mean? I had to let people sit into it, you know, but that was the way but remember, I spent years just wanting to be liked and willing to compromise and my own, the things that I thought. I remember being in the NFL and wanting to be accepted and going to strip clubs just because everyone else was going and doing things. You compromise just to fit in, right? You see what I mean? Right. You're trying to fit in, you're trying to do this, but then you're not you anymore. You know, you realize that you're just what they want you to be. Right. And so there was so many things, man, that I had bought into, and you just realize, man, this is a mess. This is, you know, this is not what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's
as you read through your book, like such a journey of like, you didn't just struggle and then arrived. There was like so many ups and downs. And you know, people will look at successful people and they think it's kind of the myth of the overnight success. You're like, man, that guy's successful. Like it just happened for him overnight. People don't realize what they went through. And so people see you where you are right now and they think how successful you are, but they don't see the challenges it took to get you there. Man. Right. And like your childhood, I really connected with that because like, you know, Big Terry, your dad, and Trish, your mom, like for me, like when I'm reading that, I'm like, oh man, this guy's in Detroit, and I'm like South Louisiana. Our childhood's like I mean, I had a Marine Corps Vietnam veteran dad, a mom who just relied on men and to fill a deep hole inside of her, and I ended up living on my own since I was 15, and so I just really connected with that. But like the ups and downs, even moving into adulthood, like you get to the NFL. And you play for, you know, three major teams, you know, the Redskins, the Chargers, the Rams, right? Did I get them right? Yes. And then you really have to lean on the mental shift because you go from the NFL, you're married now, you end up not getting cut, you don't make it to be able to stay. Yep. And now you're battling with your parents. Yep. And you are not wanting to work because of pride. Yep. And you find yourself sweeping a floor for $8 an hour. Dude. Like, that's crazy.
Man, I mean, going through that, now I'm so thankful. But at the time, it's pain like you wouldn't believe. You know what I mean? You're like, you know, because I thought, there was a moment where I thought, man, this might be it. Like, you know, here I am. I had this opportunity. I was in the NFL. I was playing, I was doing my thing. Now, remember, I was still on the end of the roster. It wasn't like I was a superstar. It wasn't like anybody knew me and that I was big and famous in that regard, but I was close.
Just to get there.
Just what I'm saying. Like when you're close, when you're like, man, I'm right there. I can touch it and then get cut, you know?
I mean, it's not like you just tried out for a team and you had 3 teams.
Yeah. I just didn't quit. You know, it was the thing where, you know, I get cut. I was like, I'm back. And a lot is to be said for just not quitting because you're going to get whatever you're going after. But at the same time, once it was over and I knew it was over and I was left with nothing, you know, I didn't have any, you know, we had to start all over again. And, again, I was back living with my parents, trying to figure out what I was going to do with a wife and kids. Right. And we decided to move to LA and not knowing anybody. Mm-hmm. But then what was crazy, and this is where the ego stuff comes in, I still had pride. Yeah. That I was like, I can't work because, I can't do those jobs. Those jobs are beneath me. I was in the NFL. What is it going to look like, me out there flipping burgers or something? Yeah. And my wife was like, well, it looks like we could eat if you do that. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? And I was so prideful. But then there's another thing that happened, which happens to a lot of guys in the military. And I got a lot of guys that just leave sports, is depression. Because here you are, you spent your whole life to do this, and it's over. Now what? Mm-hmm. And I was lost. I was lost as a person, as a man, I wasn't an athlete anymore. So now what am I? I was trying to define myself as, okay, I'm going to come out to LA and get behind the scenes, because this thing, I wasn't trying to act at the time. I wasn't an actor. Yeah. I was trying to get behind the scenes, like, hey, and I thought being a football player would help me in LA, and LA doesn't care. They were like, who cares? You're a football player, get out of here. And I thought, oh man, and believe me, I kind of had a rude awakening when I got to LA and realized nobody cared that I had spent some years in the NFL. They were like, dude, what does that mean? And I had to start all over. And I'll never forget, this is the story that blew me away, because I had a good friend. He still is my best friend to this day. His name is Ken Harvey. He played with the Redskins. But he would give me loans all the time. And he gave me these loans, and he would always give me, hey man, here's some money. And I would call him up, hey, Ken, he gave me the money to actually move my family out to LA. So I'm out here for months, and I'm too proud to work. So I'm calling this guy for one more loan, and I'm like, hey, Ken, what's up, man? I just need a little bit of the, and he said, hey, man, I can't do it. That's it. No more. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool. Now, when your voice goes that high, you're kind of off, something's wrong, and I'm going, and I remember hanging up. And I was so pissed. When I say mad, I was like, how this dude's supposed to be my friend. He's supposed to be my buddy. And he can't give me this loan. This is ridiculous. And I remember hearing a voice. And I do believe it was the voice of God. I really do. And it was like, why are you mad at the only person that helped you in the first place? Yeah.
He's been helping you all along.
He was the only one. Look, I went to family members and they said no. But he was always helping me.
Yeah, but he knew that no at that time was helping you too.
Yeah.
But that's you call it Ken Harvey wake up moment.
Yes. Yeah. It's the wake up moment. And, but then that was the moment I went, dude, I can't be mad at him. I said, well, I got to go to work. And I said, enough is enough. Now, mind you, my wife had been telling me this the whole time, and this is a whole nother subject. Is because I was into this manly pride, where just because I was a man, I was more valuable than any woman in my life. So I should have already known it. Right. So I was not willing to listen to the wisdom that the women in my life were giving me, especially my wife. I wasn't willing. She was always like, honey, you just got to get a job. It's okay. Yeah. And I was like, and I wouldn't even listen to her. I was like, you don't know what you're talking about, Right. But that pride prevented me from the person who already had the answer. Right. It was by Ken telling me no that I went, whoa, she was right this whole time. So I went down this place. I'm sweeping floors, man. And the funny thing that happened, because I'm just like, oh my God, this is it. I thought when I touched the broom, I was just gonna pass out. Like, this is it. Like I'm on the bottom of the barrel.
$8 an hour.
Yes, $8
in California,
an hour.
by the way, right?
Oh yeah. Come on, man. There's nothing. Yeah. So I'm sweeping, but all of a sudden, there's this new energy that came to me, and it said, "Hey, man, put everything you have into this." And again, I do believe God was talking to me. Yeah. He was sharing with me, because these are these quiet moments. Right. When you're at your, now you have to listen. You know what I mean? When there's no distraction. because God's talking to you the whole time. And finally, and I've been shutting them out because you can get distracted. But I was like, Dad, I'm sweeping this floor. He said, hey man, put everything you have into sweeping these floors.
If you could be a floor sweeper, you'd be the best floor sweeper you could be.
He said, man, God was literally telling me, if you do everything with all your heart, I'm going to take you out of here. I'm going to take you and I'm going to bless you. But you got to start here. And I started sweeping, man, and I got new energy. It was crazy. It was a weird thing. What can I say? You know, I've heard the phrase that flipped me out. This is there's nothing wrong with anything but your attitude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was my attitude.
Yeah.
It was my attitude was like, oh my God. And once I shifted my attitude and God gave me that opening to do that.
And being willing to be humble and start.
You just got to be willing. And then, you know what it's like? It's like, you don't do the growing.
Right.
God does the growing. I mean, you do the planting, but you can't make anything grow. You know what I mean? That's not how that works.
I had a good friend who used to always say, you know, when you hit rock bottom, it turns out rock bottom is a pretty good foundation to rebuild on. And the humility will let you, you know, put good roots there. And one of the things you said in there that I really like, and I think it's a lesson that so many people, especially in America and our culture, need to learn right now, is you said this: do the work you don't want to do.
Yes.
Yes. Because everybody looks at, you know, where Terry Crews is right now. Even in the work I do, people like, I get to do a lot of public speaking. I speak in front of like, you know, 20,000 people at times, and people that want to, are kind of after me, like, how do I get to speaking? They want to speak in front of 20,000 people tomorrow. It's like, no, like, I went and spoke at the convalescent homes and volunteered to practice speaking. I went and spoke to elementary school kids. I went and spoke at the Rotary clubs and no one wants to do that, but you do the work you don't want to do to get to where you want to get. And people aren't willing to do that. You were willing to sweep the floor.
You got to understand, this is this culture. First of all, youth is celebrated, so you're supposed to automatically have everything together.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, but there is, I have to say, early success is a horrible teacher. You know what I mean? Because you don't pay your dues. You know, you don't learn your ways. I
just had this conversation with one of my sons.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, it wasn't about him. It was one of his friends that was mad that he didn't get promoted to where he was. I'm like, if they promoted him to that position right now, it would destroy him.
Not ready.
He's not ready. He's smart. He's talented, but it would destroy him. It would steal him from all the lessons he needs to learn.
You can't go from a tricycle to a Corvette.
No.
You know what I mean? But that's what everyone wants.
Yeah. You'll crash if you do.
You're going to die. You know what I mean?